I still remember the exact moment I realized my marriage was already over, long before my husband ever said the word divorce. It wasn't dramatic. There was no shouting, no tears, no slammed doors. It was a quiet Tuesday night, the kind that disappears into memory unless it changes everything. I was sitting alone at the kitchen table, surrounded by spreadsheets and bank statements, doing the work I'd done for years without thanks, the work that kept our life looking perfect from the outside. My name is Alexis. I'm 34 years old, and until 3 months ago, I was married to a man everyone admired, Vincent Mercer. Confident, ambitious, successful. At least, that's what the world believed. I met Vincent when I was 17. I'd graduated high school early, not because I was brilliant, but because I was desperate to leave my parents' house and stand on my own feet. I took a job as a file clerk at a law firm, minimum wage, maximum paper cuts, but it was mine. By 18, I'd worked my way up to legal assistant. I learned how contracts worked, how money moved, how people hid truth inside paperwork. Most importantly, I learned when to stay quiet and observe. Vincent was 24 when we met at a client event. He spoke like the future already belonged to him. Real estate, growth, expansion, legacy. He didn't ask if he would succeed. He spoke as if success had already signed a contract with him. I believed him. We married when I was 19. Our son, Tyler, was born a year later. While Vincent chased ambition, I balanced motherhood with part-time work, building savings, protecting my independence the way my grandmother had taught me. A woman should have her own money, she always said. Not secret money, just her own. When Vincent's business finally took off, he asked me to quit my job and help him full-time. He needed someone he trusted, someone loyal, someone smart. So I became everything. Bookkeeper, office manager, client coordinator, event planner, interior decorator, unpaid executive assistant, full-time mother, emotional support system. My official title was wife. My actual role was infrastructure. For 11 years, I built his dream while slowly disappearing from my own life. Then, 3 months ago, he came home early. I was cooking dinner, his favorite. He sat across from me at the kitchen table, expression flat, professional. Not sad, not guilty, just finished. He said, "I want a divorce. I want the house, the business, the cars, everything." Then casually, "You can keep Tyler." As if our 15-year-old son were a leftover item he didn't want to carry. I didn't cry, I didn't yell, I just stared at him, wondering how 15 years could collapse into a conversation between a salt shaker and a butter dish. What I didn't know then, but would soon learn, was that Vincent had been planning this for months. He already had a lawyer, a strategy, an exit. While I was scheduling his appointments and managing his books, he was preparing to erase me. The days that followed blurred together. His mother arrived with fake sympathy and real judgment. Friends whispered advice. Papers appeared. Decisions were made without me. Everyone saw a woman being discarded, broken, betrayed, defeated. What no one saw, what Vincent never suspected, was that I had known something for 3 years. Something buried deep inside his financial records, something that changed everything. And while the world believed I had lost my mind, I had simply been waiting. 3 years before my husband asked for a divorce, I found the truth by accident. Vincent was working late again. I was at home reconciling business accounts. Nothing unusual, until I noticed a transfer I didn't recognize, then another, and another. Patterns don't lie. I followed the money. What I found that night didn't just scare me, it rewrote everything I thought I knew about my life. Our house wasn't owned, it was drowning. 3 mortgages, total debt over $1 million. Market value? Far less. The business everyone praised, crushed under loans, back taxes, vendor debts, maxed out credit lines. The cars? Leased. The lifestyle? Borrowed. We didn't own anything. We were renting success on credit. I didn't confront Vincent. I didn't panic. I didn't tell a soul. Because I knew him. If I confronted him, he'd manipulate the conversation, twist the narrative, make me doubt my own sanity. Worse, he'd protect himself. So I did something better. I prepared. I protected my inheritance, my retirement account, everything that was legally mine. I placed it into a trust for my son, untouchable, irreversible, safe. Then I documented everything. Every loan, every hidden account, every lie disguised as ambition. And then I waited. Men like Vincent always leave. They just don't expect consequences. When he finally asked for the divorce, when he demanded everything, I almost laughed. He wasn't asking for assets, he was demanding debt, but he didn't know it yet. At mediation, I played the role everyone expected. Quiet, exhausted, broken. I asked for almost nothing. He accepted immediately. He thought he'd won. Even his lawyer tried to warn him. He refused audits, refused review, signed waivers without reading. Arrogance is expensive. I signed slowly, carefully. Every signature was deliberate. Because when you assume assets, you also assume liabilities. And Vincent had just inherited a financial collapse. The courtroom was quiet the morning my marriage officially ended. Vincent looked confident. Expensive suit, new watch, victory already in his posture. I looked tired. Simple dress, no jewelry, exactly what people expected. The judge reviewed the agreement, asked if I understood what I was giving up. I just want him to have everything he asked for, I said softly. Vincent smiled. Then his lawyer read the addendum. I watched the color drain from Vincent's face as the numbers finally registered. Mortgages, loans, negative equity. Nearly $2 million in obligations. His empire wasn't a prize, it was a bill. "This isn't right," he said, voice cracking. "She hid this." The judge didn't flinch. "These are your debts, Mr. Mercer. You were advised, you declined review, you signed." The gavel came down. It was over. Outside the courtroom, his new girlfriend disappeared before the elevator doors closed. His mother stopped smiling. His empire collapsed faster than it was built. Weeks later, Vincent showed up at my apartment, smaller, quieter, real. "I didn't know," he said. "You knew," I replied calmly. "You just didn't want to look." I closed the door. Today, my life is simpler, smaller, mine. My son is safe, his future secure. My grandmother was right about everything. And the woman everyone thought had given up, she just knew how to wait.
People think the story ends when the courtroom doors close, when the gavel comes down, when the villain loses and the woman walks away. It doesn't. That's just where the noise ends. The real aftermath is quiet. For weeks after the divorce, my life felt strangely weightless. Not happy in a dramatic, movie-ending way, just lighter. I no longer woke up bracing myself for criticism disguised as concern. I no longer measured my worth by how efficiently I made someone else's life easier. There was no one to impress anymore. That was the strangest freedom of all. At first, the silence scared me. 15 years of my life had been filled with schedules, emergencies, expectations. Suddenly, there was space. Empty evenings, unclaimed opinions, decisions that didn't require approval. I realized how much of myself I had compressed to fit inside someone else's ambition. I started small. I repainted the apartment walls myself, uneven strokes and all. I bought secondhand furniture and didn't apologize for it. I cooked when I wanted to. I didn't cook when I didn't. Tyler noticed the change before I did. "You smile differently now," he said one night, sitting across from me at our tiny kitchen table. I asked him what he meant. "It's quieter," he said, "but it's real." That might have been the moment I knew I had done the right thing. Vincent tried to contact me more than once. At first, it was polite, apologies wrapped in nostalgia, then desperate, requests disguised as concern for Tyler. Eventually, it became silence. I didn't chase closure. I learned that closure is often just permission to move on, and I didn't need his. The world slowly adjusted to the new narrative. Friends who once pitied me began asking how I seemed so stable, calm, unbothered. They expected bitterness, anger, regret. What they didn't understand was this. I had already grieved my marriage years before it officially ended. By the time Vincent walked away, I had already made peace with the truth. That peace stayed with me. I enrolled in courses I'd postponed for over a decade. I relearned what it felt like to be a beginner, awkward, unsure, but curious. I worked part-time, not because I had to prove anything, but because I wanted to build something that belonged only to me. Some nights were hard. Independence isn't glamorous every day. There were moments when exhaustion hit, when fear whispered that maybe the old life had been easier. But it hadn't been easier. It had just been familiar. One afternoon, months later, I ran into someone who used to know us as a couple. They looked surprised to see me alone. "You seem okay," they said carefully, like it was unexpected. I smiled. "I am," I replied, and for the first time I didn't feel the need to explain why. I stopped thinking of myself as a woman who survived something. I started seeing myself as a woman who chose herself, quietly, deliberately, without asking for applause. And that choice changed everything. I no longer needed revenge. Life had handled that without my help. I no longer needed validation. I had rebuilt my sense of worth from the ground up. What I wanted now was consistency, peace, growth, and maybe, eventually, joy. Not the loud kind, the kind that settles into your bones. Sometimes, late at night, I think about the woman I was at 19, the girl who believed love meant sacrifice without limits. I wish I could tell her this. You don't have to disappear to prove your loyalty. You don't have to stay quiet to keep the peace. And you don't have to lose yourself to deserve love. But maybe she needed to learn it the long way, like I did. My life isn't perfect now. It's real. It's honest. It's mine. And after everything, that feels like more than enough.